That was shittier than I thought it was gonna be. I hate this hill. Treadmill workouts are hard, and they're even harder off the treadmill, I think. I'm gonna go before I throw up here. Hajime! So it's been like 7 weeks since I made a vlog.
I don't know if I remember how to do it. So Shawn, what have you been doing for the past like 7 weeks? Jeez, haven't heard from you in like forever.
I've been kind of on this journey of like self-exploration and curiosity of what is going on. I read this book called The Surrender Experiment. In the book itself, if you take it too literally, it isn't as great as you think it is, but what I really got out of it is that the guy just was curious about himself, and then that made me really curious about myself, like even more so than I used to be. I think I've always been curious about myself, but I've always had these preconceived ideas and judgments about what I can think about myself. And this book kind of showed me that if you really want to figure out what's going on, you have to just jump.
What the hell are you talking about?
I haven't talked about this a lot because I feel like I'm crazy when I talk about it, but due to my dance I've had with depression ever since I was a very young kid, I feel like I've thought about life and death a lot more than a lot of people have, especially when they start at 7 years old.
Why am I here? What happens if I die? What if I do die? What's gonna happen? What if I stay alive? What happens after we're alive? What was I before I was born? All these crazy weird questions, right?
So as a young kid with my search for these answers, it kind of led me to 2 different paths, like religion. My stance in religion, I've never really agreed with it too much because I've always believed people have taken it too literally. I don't necessarily believe there's a giant boat that someone made of 2 of every animal, but I believe that there is that's a great story to teach people how to be good people. That's my stance in religion. So I would say I've always been a little bit more spiritual and not very religious, if that makes any sense. So that has led me to the religion side, and I've explored it and kind of come to that conclusion. And the other side is quantum mechanics and quantum physics, because I'm super sciencey, and that's crazy to me, which is some people consider as the religion, or the science of religion, or the religion of science, however you want to spin it. So without telling you guys, or a lot of people, I have found these really interesting commonalities between Buddhism and quantum mechanics.
That's part of the reason I never talked about it, because I always thought I was kind of nuts, just even thinking this could possibly be the case.
But then you think of guys like Stephen Hawking and Einstein have had these same kind of thoughts, and you're like, well, people think they're crazy, but they also think they're intelligent. So maybe you have to be a little crazy, maybe you have to be intelligent to be crazy, or maybe you have to be crazy to be intelligent. One of those, I guess. I mean, who wouldn't think you're crazy if you're talking about multiple dimensions, multiple universes, quantum entanglement, or the idea that, the Big Bang happened, the universe was just the size of an itty-bitty little atom, but hey, we're all connected in some way. Well, maybe we were, because in that little small space we were all compact and really close, so essentially we're all made of the exact same stuff, which is what a lot of religions say, and then that's kind of what a lot of quantum physicists say when they say we're all just made out of star stuff, we're all made of the same thing. So a lot of these ideas kind of overlap, and Zen Buddhism has been the closest to explaining the quantum mechanics stuff more than any religion that I have studied so far. So long story short, instead of just guessing and realizing I had these ideas and judgments about it, I just decided to jump into the pool and explore it. And I don't know what I'm gonna find, but what I do know is that I will learn something out of this. And if I don't learn anything, that still just means I learned something. Because that's really kind of what science is. You do an experiment, and even if you don't get a result you were looking for, you still got a result. So that's kind of how I'm looking at this whole situation. So I've been reading 5 different books, actually more than that, on quantum mechanics, and I've been reading some really old books on Zen Buddhism. And the Buddhism stuff is way outside my comfort zone. It's hard for me to jump in wholeheartedly, but I have been. And I've been doing these crazy long meditations in really different ways and focusing on really weird things, or that I think are weird. Maybe they're not weird. It's been a really interesting and fun journey confronting my ego in that way. And that's been my frame of mind. I just thought you should know that before I explain the rest of this pole vault stuff.
So how does this relate to pole vault stuff? This is a pole vault vlog after all, Shawn.
There's this idea that everybody has the perfect world inside their head, the way they want things to be and the way they are trying to get things to be. If you want to be at a restaurant at 7 o'clock, you better leave by 6:30 so you can be there at 7 o'clock and make sure everything's on time. But what if that doesn't work? What if somebody makes you late? All of a sudden, your brain freaks out. The picture you have in your head doesn't match your reality. So with this whole Zen Buddhism stuff, it talks about just accepting reality the way it is. And that's about it. That's about as simple as it gets. You can kind of guide it, maybe, and if it doesn't work, just don't hold attachment to it. And that's kind of how I've been doing this. So how does that relate to pole vault? I started pole vault because I just wanted to see if I could do it. And that was really the root of why I started pole vaulting. It looked like fun. The higher you jump, you start to hear about
scholarships. And then if you make a scholarship, then you start hearing about being conference champion. And then you start hearing about being an All-American. And then you start hearing about making a U.S. championships. And then you start hearing about, traveling internationally. And then you start hearing about, winning a medal at the U.S. championships. And then you start hearing about making the Olympics. And then you start hearing about all this other stuff. And making money and sponsorships.
And in all honesty, I've never, ever cared about the Olympics. And I've, the sponsorships, I don't think deep down I ever really cared. I always just thought that was the path I needed to do because that's what everyone else did. And I never really cared about that. And it makes me laugh thinking how much stress it's caused me over the years. I'm using this year as a big mental and spiritual experiment. I am going to see what it's like to pole vault in a whole different mind frame than I have ever had before. A mind frame that wants to confront my ego, which is hard because if people are jumping higher than you, sometimes it stings a little bit, but that's your ego making it sting. So that's kind of part of it. Or not getting invited to a meet, or losing to somebody who hasn't been in the sport as long as you, or maybe losing to somebody just had a good day. Who knows? That's all part of your ego that you're confronting. I'm trying to confront my ego and walk through life the way life is versus the way I have it perceived in my head. That's how I'm going to do pole vault this year. So far, it's already been a pretty crazy journey. Training has been a lot more fun, even when I do want to puke. So I'm at NDSU. It's been like 4 or 5 years since I've done this really shitty bridge workout. I've been close to puking a lot of times on this bridge, and I'm sure I'll be there again soon. That was shittier than I thought it was gonna be. Workout done again, in the rain. Kind of fun. Better than snow, I'm gonna go before I throw up here. Through meditation, one day I've also came up with this idea that I want to film companies. And I don't just want to film companies because most people, when they film companies, they film what they do. Like,
this is what they do, 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 here's how they can help you, this is what they do.
I believe you can find what a company does on their website. I am more interested in figuring out why they do what they want to do. I think there's way more power in the why. So I started doing that. So the first 2 videos I did, the first one I did without any footage, so it's not very well put together. And the second one, I went up to Fargo and filmed my buddy Brad Hartsock's cheerleading organization. And with the whole idea of telling why they do what they do and what to expect if you use their company. Another weird thing that's been happening is I started meditating 30 minutes every day in the morning and then 15 minutes every day at night using Headspace. The morning is just 30 minutes, I just sit there meditating without the Headspace, and I've been having these weird vibrations in different parts of my body, mostly kind of in my head, going back and forth, which is weird. And if you look at Buddhism, they talk about chakra, which is like your third eye, which is this point right here where a bunch of energy flows. And again, it's hard for me to believe, but your pituitary gland is there, and that is a gland that is also known for having spiritual interactions with things. That's kind of like your spiritual gland. So that kind of leads me to believe that Buddhists have always known that gland was there. They just called it the mind's eye instead of the pituitary gland, which is kind of crazy if if you think about it. And last but not least, I'm using any really strong emotion or thoughts as alarms, like a fire alarm. It's like a fire alarm that something's not going right inside my body or brain, that I just need to pay attention to it and figure out what's causing it. And if it's my ego causing it, then I'm doing my best to try and silence my ego. Or not necessarily silence it, but be aware it's there and not give it any power. That's been kind of difficult and fun as well, because if you can be aware that that's happening, you can either make a decision to listen to it or not. Sorry there's not a lot of footage in this vlog. There will be a ton next week. I just felt like I had to say some of this stuff so you guys didn't think I was crazy. Or maybe you do think I'm crazy, and that's alright too, I guess. I'm gonna do it either way. Next week is a 3-year vlog-iversary, which kind of blows my mind that it's been 3 full years and we're starting the 4th year. That means there will be more pole vault vlogs, probably a lot more depression vlogs, because I think they help too. Actually, I get a lot of, those are my favorite emails, which that's kind of part of my ego too, because if you like something, that's your ego saying they like it. So I have to think about that one for a minute. But I'll make those because I like helping people. See how my brain's trying to work this out? So leave your comments down below. What's your favorite part of the vlogs have been in the last 3 years? I'm interested to know, and I will put them in next week's vlog. And or if you don't want to do that, just tell me how crazy I am. Because I would love to read those comments too, actually. I'm really interested in hearing what you guys think. Yeah, let me know if I'm off my rocker. Alright, I'll see you next week. Team Hoot out. Alright, a few weeks ago I asked some of you what kind of video you wanted me to make. Some of you said,
Teach me to go from 10 feet to 15 feet.
Other people said,
Teach me to go 13 feet to 17 feet. Please, teach me.
One guy goes,
You need to make a video on about elite pole vaulters and ask them questions about things everybody wants to know.
Being an elite pole vaulter is easy and fun.
I've already made one of those. Another guy asked for coaching tips, and a bunch of you guys just wanted me to make a pole vault video because I haven't been making a ton of those.
So, by popular request, I will answer every single one of those questions.
Minus the elite pole vault questions and answers, because I've already made like 6 of those, so if you're the guy who asks, I'll make more of those when I run into some more elite athletes. Deal!